Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Beside me is the 2021 model of the Honda Insight. This is the touring trim level, and I'm going to do something I haven't done before. We'll start doing this in future episodes and start today with this. I'm going to list all of the trim levels on the screen and the prices you can expect to pay depending on what trim level of the Insight you want to buy. This being the touring trim level, the price is a little over $30,000 at Holmes Honda here in Shreveport, Louisiana, which, by the way, those guys at the dealership, my friends there, were kind enough to loan me this model for the next 24 hours. And the main goal of our video today is to drive this model around as much as possible. I topped off the fuel tank, and we're going to see what kind of gas mileage this Insight can actually get. And I realize there's going to be a lot of variables that factor into that depending on how far a person drives, driving in the city, driving outside of the city, highway driving, all that kind of stuff. But we're just going to see, based on what I do for the next 24 hours with this Insight, what kind of gas mileage we can realistically get and maybe give you somewhat of a general idea of what you can expect. Here under the hood, if you haven't ever seen it, is an interesting combination of a gas engine and an electric motor. And the way the two work together to get the gas mileage to where it's as it's supposed to be, based on the miles per gallon listed on the label that came with this car, which would be 51 miles per gallon city, and believe it or not, this is correct. I'll show you on the screen just so you know, 45 out on the highway, and a combined total of 48 miles per gallon. That's what we're really going to shoot for today. But the way this combination with the two engines underneath the hood, the gas and the electric, the car works to go based off of electric until it gets to a certain point. When it drops below that point, as far as its charge goes, the gas engine will automatically kick on to charge up the electric motor. And when it gets to a certain capacity, then the gas engine kicks off and the electric picks back up. And all of this is mated to what's called a continuously variable speed transmission, or what is known as a shiftless transmission. And when you look on the steering wheel, what appear to be shifter paddles, well, those are actually controls for the regenerative braking. Okay guys, I'm not going to keep you in suspense for a really long time as to my numbers as far as gas mileage goes. Now, I'm just going to show you on the screen what those numbers are, simply because as of the time that I'm shooting this video, I'm still gathering data. So actually, I shot this before I finished everything up with this Insight. I ended up taking it back to the dealership the following morning after the time when I shot this test drive. So as you can see on the screen, I gave you a few different numbers, and I did a lot of different driving scenarios, not necessarily on purpose. It just happened to work out that way. Wound up having to run some errands that took me out on the highway quite a bit, and I did intentionally drive in the city in some heavy traffic just to see what kind of a difference that would make. So basically just trying to give you a good kind of roundabout look at how everything worked out with the overall test of the gas mileage here with the Insight. So let's talk about driving and handling characteristics. Now, the overall driving experience, the Insight handles great. I mean, for a compact car, a smaller vehicle, you're going to expect some good handling because it's low to the ground. It's not super heavy. It's actually kind of fun to drive, even with a low amount of horsepower at 151 horsepower. It's enjoyable to drive. The steering wheel itself, I'm very impressed with how it feels. It's comfortable. And I drove quite a bit on some pretty long little runs today, and as you've seen on the screen with the information I gave you, I put quite a few miles out today to do this, and of course the gas mileage was ultimately phenomenal as far as just the overall gas mileage. I did fill up to the top, just topped it off basically before I left the dealership this morning, but when it comes to acceleration, well, for 151 horsepower, I must say it's rather impressive. It's not going to slam you back in the seat or anything like that, but it's not intended to. But at the same time, when you're in sport mode, which let me go into sport mode. Down the road pretty good right there. I think you can probably see the speedometer on the GoPro side of the screen, hopefully, and I'll try and zoom in on that a little bit if it stays clear enough for you. This is the first time I've done this kind of a split screen shot with the GoPro and my other camera, which with the GoPro I think you can probably see that in the shot, but normally I just have the tripod mounted camera pointing either at myself as the driver or out of the windshield, and just trying some things out. Tell me what y'all think about that. I'd like to get your feedback, and we may add another camera before it's over with, and just trying some things out to make this a more enjoyable experience for you. Now, when it comes to road noise, I'll let you listen for a second. Now, this isn't the noisiest it's been, but it's not bad. There is some noticeable road noise, but it's not really too terribly bad. I've definitely been in vehicles that were far worse that cost a lot more than what this Insight costs, even this touring trim. And driving over some railroad tracks there, pretty much for the most part, you're going to find that the Insight is very comfortable. The ride is enjoyable and smooth on most road surfaces. If the road is really, really rough, you're definitely going to notice it, but it's not going to be a bone-jarring experience, at least based on what I've dealt with today. And overall, the handling is good. The seats are comfortable. Everything's nice and easy to get to. Now, one thing I want to tell you about here, I'm not going to go through a full-blown tour of the infotainment screen, but I want to show you something that you might not know about. If you've ever thought to yourself, I'd like to rearrange the screen. If you didn't know you could do that, let me show you how. All you're going to do is hold down any of the apps on the screen and just hold it down as you can see me doing right now, and you can just move that around wherever you want. It's a very nice experience, very nice way to personalize the infotainment screen depending on what your needs and desires are. So you don't have to just leave it at factory settings if you so desire to make any changes like that. So just kind of a nice little bit of information. Now, as far as the touring trim of the Insight goes, what is different with the touring trim? Well, you've got the chrome accents, you have the fog lights on the front end. I believe those are HID fog lights. And you have the power moonroof. Those are the main changes you're going to see, or really the primary changes you're going to see from other trim levels when you have the touring trim level as we have with our test model today. Now, as far as changes for 2021, I really, in my personal opinion, can't say this was something that I was in favor of, but that's just me. It's the fact that Lane Watch is no longer available on this model of Honda. And if you don't know what Lane Watch is, as right now I have my right-hand blinker on, making a right-hand turn here, you would actually have a rear-facing camera on the right-hand side of the car that would come on and show you what is going on with your blind spot. That has been replaced in favor of blind spot monitoring that's going to let you know if there's a vehicle in your blind spot. There's an indicator, a warning indicator that will come on, and I didn't really have, I don't know, I might be able to change the GoPro around and try and get you a shot of that. I'll see what I can do. If not, but I will show you something to give you an idea of what that looks like and how that works. It's not something you can miss. So if you're thinking you're changing vehicles maybe from something that had a Honda Lane Watch to something that does not, such as this Insight that has blind spot monitoring instead, don't worry, don't let that be a deterrent. It's not a big deal, it's just a change. That's all it is. It still gives you the same basic thing, you're just not able to look and see on the infotainment, the center screen here, what is in your blind spot. Other than that, that's really about it for 2021. I'll list any other changes I find on the screen for you. Now, we're cruising along here. This is my favorite stretch of road, and obviously I really enjoy going through these corners and just seeing how a vehicle corners that I know will hug the road nicely. So I'm not going to go too crazy with this because I don't really know how well this Insight's going to hug the road, but let's just see how it does. Actually, I am really impressed. I'm going to accelerate out of the corner. As you can hear, that went a lot better than I expected. I wasn't expecting that. Very minimal body roll and actually very impressive handling characteristics. I know I said earlier that this as being a small sedan, a compact, is very, very nimble. It's easy to get around. It has a great turning radius. It's just fun to drive. When it comes down to it, if you're looking for a vehicle that gets exceptional gas mileage, and unlike the first time I did an Insight, I think that was in 2019, it was a 2019 model possibly, it might have been a 2020, I don't remember. Now we've got some real accurate information. Maybe not accurate, may not be the best word for it, but I've been able to give you some realistic real world numbers based on my driving experience with the overall gas mileage. And that's obviously going to vary from one vehicle to the, or not one vehicle, but one situation to the next, depending on what the terrain is like where you live, how often you're driving uphill or downhill, if you're driving on the highway more than you're driving in heavy traffic. And so there's going to be a lot of potential variables depending on your situation, but overall, hopefully today's video has given you some good insight into what you can expect if a Honda Insight is something that you plan to purchase. Now, for those of you who made it this far into the video, here is a little bonus material for you. So what exactly is the bonus material I was talking about? How about a 0 to 60 poll to see how close I can get to the advertised 7.7 seconds 0 to 60 in this Insight? Let's see. All right, guys, here is the final verdict on what I ended up with when I parked the Insight back here at the dealership. It wasn't the best numbers I had, but I did get in a lot of stop and go traffic on the way here. So the numbers changed a little bit, but obviously, you know, that's to be expected with that kind of a situation. So tell me if you like this video, guys. I'm curious, trying to do some things to give you some better information and maybe more informative videos without going over the top on being technical. Tell me what you want though, and I will do my best to make that happen. I appreciate my friends here at Holmes Honda for loaning me this Insight for really the last 24 hours or so. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate all of you who were kind enough to take the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Have a great day, guys.